So I did watch the debate between Vice President Pence and Kamala Harris. And while this video isn't really about the debate, I do want to say that I thought Pence was very calm and articulate with his answers. The sort of proper presidential politician that most apolitical people would think of when they think of the debate. So in other words, he was exactly what he needed to be. The counterbalance to Trump's in-your-face, take-no-prisoner style approach. So in that, he did his job admirably. And outside of a few complaints, I think he did a great job and owned the stage. And for the most part, he didn't let Kamala or even the moderator get away with anything.
And
Senator
the
Harris.
People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you
the
now.
American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election. Men and women, I got to tell you, people across this country, if you cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump, and we'll stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme Court.
Yeah, let's talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the fact. Yeah, I'm about to. So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard. And do you know that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black? This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
All right, thank you, Senator. Let's go on and talk about the issue of racial justice.
I just want the record to reflect she never answered the question. So I think maybe in the next debate, Joe Biden will answer the question, but I think the American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice President.
And that's exactly what I want to do with this video. I don't want to let Kamala, Biden, or any other Democrat get away with these constant lies. Lies that are easily refuted by simply listening to what Trump has said and just understanding some context. Yet Democrats in the media continue to use these same lies over and over again, knowing that in the moment they can say them without any repercussion, as well as knowing that if they're fact-checked later, no one's going to care. I mean, the lie is already out there, and most people aren't going to check to see if it's true or not, especially if they're already opposed to Trump. So the first Trump lie Kamala brought up during the debate is the whole Trump called the Chinese coronavirus a hoax.
They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax.
So the whole Trump calling the coronavirus a hoax is, from what I can tell, the least repeated of these lies. Yet it's still one Democrats in the media use as a way to disparage Trump, particularly when they criticize his response to the virus. So it comes from a rally Trump held on February the 28th, back when the coronavirus was just beginning to become a real concern for everyone, where he had said that Democrats were starting to politicize the coronavirus, comparing that politicization to the Russia hoax, the Ukraine hoax, and to the impeachment.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it. We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue. They can't even count their votes in Iowa. They can't even count. No, they can't. They can't count their votes. One of my people came up to me and said, Mr. President, they tried to beat you on Russia, Russia, Russia. That didn't work out too well. They couldn't do it. They tried the impeachment hoax. That was on a perfect conversation. They tried anything. They tried it over and over. They've been doing it since you got in. It's all turning. They lost. It's all turning. Think of it. Think of it. And this is their new hoax.
So when Trump said this, he wasn't calling the virus itself a hoax. He was referring to the Democrats making it a political issue like they do with everything else. You know, rather than leaving the politics out of it and actually working to handle the problem. I mean, at this point in February, the Democrats hadn't really done too much to politicize it. I mean, as the virus had only started to really show up in the U.S. a few weeks prior. But I think Trump realized what they were going to do. I mean, he banned travel from China, which, you know, it took effect at the beginning of February. You know, to which Democrats like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden called him a racist and xenophobic for doing.
Isn't it interesting that a president who has been demagoguing and demonizing immigrants, the first thing that he could think about is closing down the border?
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering to lead the way instead of science.
Even a few days before the rally, Nancy Pelosi was trying to get people to come out to Chinatown. You know, clearly an attempt to underplay the virus and make Trump's travel ban appear to be xenophobic towards Chinese people.
It's exciting to be here, especially at this time, to be able to be unified with our community. We want to be vigilant about what it might be on what is out there in other places. We want to be careful about how we deal with it, but we do want to say to people, come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
So Democrats were politicizing it. I mean, they still are politicizing it. So Trump was right in what he was calling out. But he did not call the virus itself a hoax. But Democrats know they're being dishonest when they say Trump called it a hoax.
And we're hearing it every step of the way from this administration. First, we were hearing it was a hoax. Then we were hearing that everything was fine.
I mean, it's been debunked numerous times. I mean, Jake Tapper said on Twitter that the president didn't call the virus a hoax. Even freaking Snopes, while they mark it as a mixture, whatever that means, says that Trump did not call the coronavirus a hoax. So this is out there. It's been out there for months that this didn't happen. At this point, any Democrat saying it is straight up lying, and they know it. The next media lie that Kamala Harris used during the debate is that back in 2018, Trump called American soldiers who died during World War I and were buried near Paris. Trump called them losers and suckers.
And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers.
So, of course, this lie has come from an article by The Atlantic that said anonymous sources told them what Trump had said during that trip, that he didn't want to go there because they were suckers for getting killed. It wasn't because of the weather, like Trump had said. And once again, this has been debunked. As well as anything that's not actually recorded can be debunked. So none of the Atlantic's, sources have come forward to prove their claim. Yet 10 on-the-record sources, people who were actually there, have come forward debunking this claim.
I want to address what is quite clearly fake news. The story in The Atlantic has been categorically debunked by eyewitnesses and contemporaneous documents. The Atlantic claims, quote, when President Trump canceled a visit to the Ain Marne American Cemetery near Paris in 2018, he blamed rain for the last-minute decision, according to The Atlantic, saying the helicopter couldn't fly and that Secret Service wouldn't drive him there. Neither claim was true, says The Atlantic. That has been debunked. Behind me, you will see an email from one of the president's military aides that clearly reads, "We are a bad weather call for today's lift." The Atlantic reporting is based on 4 cowardly anonymous sources who probably do not even exist. Meanwhile, within hours, 10 sources, 10, went on the record debunking these lies, 8 with firsthand knowledge, stating on the record one common truth, that this story is false. It never happened. Adding to the 8 that were previously counted, I'm bringing you 2 new ones. One is from Derek Lyons, Staff Secretary and Counselor to the President, who says this: I was with the President the morning after the scheduled visit. He was extremely disappointed that arrangements could not be made to get him to the site and that the trip had been canceled. I have worked for the President for his entire administration. One of my responsibilities is working with him on the many letters he signs to the families of our nation's fallen heroes. In all my time at the White House, Derek writes, I have never heard him utter a disparaging remark of any kind about our troops. In my view, he holds the brave men and women of our armed forces in the highest regard.
Even John Bolton's own book debunked the Atlantic's claim. I mean, Trump's trip to the cemetery near Paris was indeed scrapped because of weather conditions. I mean, it was nothing to do with Trump supposedly calling them losers and suckers.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton joins me now. He is the author of The Room Where It Happened. Good to have you with us this evening, Mr. Bolton. What's your reaction to what the president had to say about this whole incident?
Well, in fact, he was responding to an article in the Atlantic magazine from last Thursday night, and the article itself is a mashup of all kinds of allegations, what he thinks of John McCain, which I thought was largely accurate, and what he happened to say in Paris on the day before Armistice Day, the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day, getting ready to go visit French President Macron. And according to what that article said, the president made disparaging remarks about our soldiers, the people buried at the En Marne cemetery, in connection with the decision for him not to go to the ceremony that was planned that afternoon. And that was simply false. I don't know who told the author that, but that was false. And I recounted that in my book, The Room Where It Happened, and reaffirmed that in response to questions the next day.
This is just another key example of the media making up a story based on anonymous sources, just to get it out there to be used as ammunition against Trump, regardless of whether it's true or not. Once the lie is out there, they can say it over and over again, no matter how many times it's been debunked or proven false. So the last media lie I want to debunk that came from Kamala Harris during the debate is the one that's been going on the longest. That being the very fine people lie.
On the issue of Charlottesville, where people were peacefully protesting the need for racial justice, where a young woman was killed, and on the other side there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial epithets, anti-Semitic slurs, and Donald Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the President of the United States.
The lie from the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville that says Trump called white supremacists very fine people during one of his press conferences. I mean, this, of course, is blatantly false. I mean, all you have to do is listen to Trump and understand some context.
On both sides, sir, you said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Robert E. Lee are not the same.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers.
So right here, all you have to do is listen to what Trump is saying. He's not talking about white supremacists or neo-Nazis, which he condemned. He's not even talking about Antifa. When he says there are very fine people on both sides, he's talking about normal, everyday Americans. Because there were normal Americans there who weren't white supremacists or who weren't even Antifa. Some of them were just there to protest the taking down of statues, while some of them were there wanting the statues removed. Now, these two groups were obviously opposed to each other. But these are the very fine people Trump was referring to. You know, not everyone there that was protesting the removal of the statues were white supremacists. I mean, that's not even a white supremacist position. Just because some white supremacists held a rally there doesn't mean every protester was a white supremacist. You know, in the same vein, not everyone there that was opposed to these groups were Antifa. Now, I will admit Trump could have explained himself better, which, you know, let's be honest, is one of Trump's weaknesses when he's speaking off the cuff like this. But when people, particularly the media, want to be disingenuous and construe everything Trump says in a certain way, well, not being concise is a problem. I mean, but really, the media tend to take everything Trump says out of context and twist it, you know, to their narrative anyways, so, I mean, what's even the point? In the end, people need to actually listen to what Trump says and stop listening to what the media tells you he said. You know, because the media is indeed fake news, and politicians like Kamala Harris use these media narratives, you know, to their advantage. And we the people need to be informed enough to realize when they do it. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. You can find more of my opinions over on my Minds page. You can also find me on Parler and Twitter. Links for everything will be in the description, of course. Thanks again, and God bless.